Welcome to part 3 of the Foundry build videos. So this is the last video. In part 2 you saw that we installed the refractory into the main body and into the lid of the Foundry. Also made up a tube here for the burner to go in. Cleaned it all up, painted it all up, and ready to go. So in this video we're going to put the burner in and run it for a little bit and see how that goes. And also in this video I need to make up a crucible because I don't actually have one. I'll make up a crucible. It'll just be a steel one for now. Perhaps I'll buy a proper clay or graphite crucible a little bit later on. Then we'll do the whole goal of this project was to melt some aluminium and mold it into round casting molds. I think I mentioned in one of the other videos I've already fired up a couple of times, just little short bursts. So I guess a lot of the scariness is now dissipated, a little bit more confidence now. So when you're dealing with, LPG and fire and stuff like that and potential explosions, it's a little bit scary to start with. But anyway, let's get this thing fired up and we'll see how she goes. Just take the camera off and get a better view of this. See the flames down there? So the burner's running pretty good. See a little bit of smoke coming out the back here. I don't know if that's the refractory or not, but there's I don't feel any leaks around the sides here, so that's a good sign. I think that's matched up pretty well with the top and the base. So quite happy with that. I might just let that burn for a little bit. This is probably the longest time I've run this, so I just didn't want to run it too soon after we put the refractory in, to give it time to dry out. So I've given that a run up for about 10 minutes and everything looks pretty good. I might do a couple more 10-minute runs, let it cool down and maybe it dries out a bit, and then I think we'll be good to go after that. So in between this, what I'll do is I'll start making the crucibles. The measurement here is 200 by 200, so that's about 8 inches by 8 inches. So as long as the crucible's a bit lower than 8 inches high with its bottom on it, then we should be right, I think. I found a bit of square tubing to make the crucible out of. So this is 100 mils by 100 mils, 4 inches square. It's around about 4 millimeters thick. It's, probably needs to be a lot thicker than that. But for the first one for testing out, I think it's going to be fine. May not last too long, but I'll look at either some thicker steel or maybe a proper graphite crucible a little bit later on. So being square shaped, maybe a little bit harder to clear the dross off the top with these sharp corners, but I don't have anything round that will be big enough and suitable, so it's going to have to be this one for now. I was going to use one of the corners for the spout, maybe just grind a little bit away on the inside to make it nice and smooth there, and basically what I've seen on YouTube is, they have little bits of steel, a piece there and a piece here, and then the crucible tong type things or lifter hooks in under the steel, and you can lift out the crucible out of the foundry. Once you have it up, then there's usually some sort of eyelet or something down the bottom corner here. This is just an example. It'll be something a lot smaller than this, and then you have another hook where you can hook in there and lift it up to control your pouring. So that's kind of the design I'm going to use for this, and I think that will work, you know, at least for testing and doing a couple of first melt type scenarios. I turned up some eyelets, so these will be on the lifting tongs, and they will clip around the bits of steel that I have out the side. And there's a little change of plan to that. I was just watching some more videos on YouTube, and instead of just having a piece of steel poking out here, most of the people use bolts, and I presume it's just so that the the eyelet doesn't slip off the side if one side comes off or something like that. Maybe you've still got control of it. I don't really know, but so what I thought I'd do is I'll just use bolts here. I'll just cut off, I don't know, 15 millimeters or so, and just weld them into the side corners on both sides. Then what I'll do is probably cut this out on that kind of shape, I guess, and then as long as it can fit in there to connect in there, then that's how that would work. So I'm not really sure on the shape I'm going to cut it out, but straight up the back, because the the lifting rod will be welded to the eyelet, and then we just need enough room in here to get over the the bolt to hook underneath and up. I've welded on the bolt heads onto the side here, so that's all good. It fits in the Foundry no problem, so that's all good there. I've made these pieces up, so these are the bits that will come underneath to lift the Crucible out. So what I need to make now is to link these together with a bit of rod, probably something about this size. This is the smallest I have, is 8mm. So I'll probably just come up, over, and then back down, and then weld that in a nice place where they're going to be centralized on these bolts. And then what I'll do from there is put a handle from the top point up a little bit higher, so that I can hold on to this tool to lift the Crucible out of the Foundry. Sorry, I just missed a little bit of video on these bits here. I think the memory card went full again or something happened. But anyway, that's the lifting hook for the Crucible. And that works very nicely, just hooks on to the bolts. You lift it up out of the Foundry and then you just hook this in here to do your pouring. Yeah, that works really, really good. So there's just a couple of things to finish off. One is we need to put a bottom on here, and the second one is I might just put something at the top here, maybe a round loop or something where I can actually hang it on the Foundry, you know, the front part of the Foundry. I've got the Crucible lifting tongs pretty much finished, and they work really great. So lifting out the Crucible was pretty easy, just comes up very nicely. You lay it in there and off it goes. Also I did the tilting stick, I don't know what you call this. You just put in the hook there and use that for pouring. I've put a ring on the end there so that can just go on the end where the tools go, and that's of course closed in there as well, so that can go where the tools go at the front there when I'm not using it. So I think we are ready to probably melt some aluminium. I've given this a number of run-ups and 10-minute bursts and stuff like that. I could see moisture there when I was doing that. Now I don't know if that was from the LPG or if that was coming out of the refractory, but there doesn't appear to be any moisture coming or there now, so perhaps it was from the refractory. So just before we do that, what I might do actually is I might just blue these Crucible tools using the hot blue method, and then we'll get into melting some aluminium. Okay, so we're ready to melt some aluminium for the first time. We've got everything set up here. I did notice with the burner tube that goes in, or the bracket that I made up, and remember the hole in the tank was a little bit bigger, so there was a bit of a gap there. So I did notice that when I turn it up, a lot more power, more gas going in and burning harder and faster, we get some of the flames coming out of that gap as well. So I'm going to have to fix that. In the interim, I've just screwed the end of the nozzle back onto the burner. You can see it in the tank there. That's just what I'm going to do now. Maybe I'll make up a sleeve that goes in there or something like that. That's all good. We got the Crucible tongs and the Crucible there, and over here we got some molds. So I just cut up a couple of bits of tube and welded a plate on the bottom of those. And of course, like everyone else, we've got some muffin containers if there's anything left over. So we'll get this going and see how we go. This is just going to be cans at this stage, so I do have a drum of other types of aluminium like motor parts, blocks and cylinder heads from lawnmower engines and things like that, but that'll be for another day. This is just for cans this time. Oh well, this is the first batch of aluminium to come from Foundry. Pretty exciting. Man, there's a lot of dross there. I think it's just a lot of rubbish and the paint, all that sort of stuff on those aluminium cans. So I'll give it one last skin and then we'll take it out and pour it into the molds over there. Might have seen there, in all the excitement I forgot to heat the molds up. They were sitting in the trays. Looks like I had a bit of an issue with one of the welds there and some of the aluminium came out, but I think that's pretty good. I'll wait for those to cool down a bit, then we'll see how good it turned out. So I've got some more cans to melt. I might as well melt them now and be done with it. I'll carry on here and we'll do another pour once I get back. I'm just going to leave a little bit in the bottom of the crucible for next time. So in the first pouring, this mould here, the aluminium got stuck in it, so I had to chop it shorter. I sort of drilled a hole in the bottom of it, punched it out. It got pretty tight in there, I'm not really sure why. So I had to cut the mould off, and I'll take the other bit of aluminium out of the other cut off piece a bit later, but that's why it's sitting in sand, because there's a hole in the bottom and it sort of leaked around the side a bit and that sort of thing. The other mould I actually had on the top heating up, so I'll see if that's any difference, but man, I've got to tell you, this is Mount Dross, all from cans, so I think those cans are not very economic. It's probably half of the stuff from the can there. But anyway, that was the first melting and pouring of this furnace, so I'm pretty happy with the results. I've got to say the swinging lid is a good option there. To scrape all that dross off, I had to open it up a number of times and just pushing down the foot pedal and swinging the top over was absolutely perfect and worked flawlessly. I might do some more videos on melting aluminium in the future, probably more toward the engine casing type of aluminium instead of cans. I think I'm going to get a lot more aluminium and a lot less dross coming off the top. So anyway, that pretty much concludes this video. So once again, thanks for watching.